The Darty Party continues. What's going on, y'all? Brendan London here alongside Jared Schwartz. This is your Blue Rush Postgame Live, the initial reaction. My voice is gone. Jared, I'm going to just go straight to you, man. Let's get straight into this one. 34-17. Jaxson Dart was absolutely unbelievable. He's like me when I go to Burlington Coat Factory. He does more with less. Practice squad receivers, young receivers on the outside, solid run game, got Theo Johnson and the tight ends involved. This kid is the real deal. I guess let's go into your thoughts on the game, man. Let's break this thing down. Let's have some fun today, bro.
You have the dart party, the darty party. I'll raise you with the scat trick, with the hat trick of touchdowns. Before we talk about Dart and Scatabo and Flott and Brian Burns, I want to highlight two team stats, which were just night and day between last week and today, because it looks like two different teams from the Saints game to today. Last week, we obviously know 5 straight possessions with a turnover. The Saints got 13 points off of that. Today, no turnovers, and the Giants forced 2, so +2 in the turnover game. 1 directly sets up a Scatabo touchdown. Against the Saints, 8 penalties for 95 yards. Today, 6 penalties for 55 yards, and one of those was 15 yards for Scatabo's kind of nonsense taunting penalty at the end. So really, 40 penalty yards. It's amazing what you can do when you don't shoot yourself in the foot. Dart's first start against the Chargers, they play clean, no turnovers, and they don't commit a lot of penalties, and they win. Against the Saints, they shoot themselves in the foot, commit 5 turnovers and a plethora of penalties, they lose. They're clean again today, and it's amazing. You can beat, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You can lose to the worst team. You don't do that. You can beat the best team in the league, or one of the best teams in the league and the defending champion. And this just felt like one of those wins. If Dart becomes who they think he can be, franchise quarterback, we'll remember, where we were today as the start of, not the official start, but the start of this Dart Scatabo era. And one thing that was going through my mind is, this team has lost so many games to the Eagles. So many guys on this roster are just used to losing to the Eagles. There is an attitude change, I think, with Dart and Scatabo. That rookie mentality, that freshness, that take no, anything from anybody else. We had that bad game on Sunday, bounce right back, primetime at home. We're not going to let that affect us and just go out and do their thing. I think it's infectious. I think that attitude is infectious, that it's that energy, that mindset. They didn't come into this game thinking it's the Eagles, it's Thursday night, we're already 1-4. They didn't carry that mentality. They came in and said, screw that. This is our chance to have a breaking out party. And boy, did they have a breaking out party.
Yeah, and they had me fooled, Jared. I'm going to be honest. When we were in the locker room and, we myself, your dad, Paul Schwartz, we shoot Blue Rush. We were in the locker room short week on Tuesday. Couple guys maybe playing a little ping pong here and there, guys just sitting down at the table, and I was looking, and just the energy, there was zero energy in the locker room. There was no music being blasted on the speakers like they usually do. When the media was coming in, there was no announcement like media's here, anything. There was no joking around, and it wasn't because I felt like they were locked in and serious. I felt as though that Saints loss took a lot out of that football team. Whether you were a rookie and you're like, wait, is this the team that everyone was warning me about, that I got drafted to? Or when I was speaking with Dexter Lawrence, and it was like it was like his energy was drained, because it looked like to him it was like, not again. I don't want to spend another season like this. They absolutely fooled me, because they came out from the jump. Yeah, the Eagles got 3 points on that first drive, but they made a really tough stop in the red zone, or the fringe to get Jake Elliott to kick that field goal. So we saw, like you said, it was a night and day effort from after they were up 14-3 against the Saints.
Yep.
Here's the frustrating part about this team now, or what we've seen throughout the course of this year. Do not introduce me to a vibe that you can't maintain. Those numbers, like a first date, and you go out, everyone's on their best behavior. You got your hair slicked back, everything looking cool. And then as you get comfortable, you're passing gas in front of people, in front of her, and all that's like, Do not introduce me to a vibe that you can't maintain. And what y'all put, what in these wins, what we've seen against these good football teams, you have played the type of football that everyone now expects y'all to have, and the type of football that now you're showing to yourself you can beat any team out there. Joe Shane said this team was a quarterback away, and we're seeing that with Jaxson Dart. But if you do not kill yourself with the penalties and busted coverages and just all of it, shooting yourself in the foot, you have a chance to win every single football game that you play, no matter who it is.
That's the frustrating thing is you look at the record now, 2-4.
Yeah.
You go back to the Cowboys game, they had the game won like 3 times before they lost it. You look at last week as a game against the Saints, one of the worst teams in the league against a quarterback who has never won a game as a starter, and they lay in and they shoot themselves in the foot. And as we both said, winning an NFL game is hard enough. To have to beat yourself and the other team makes it even harder. And when you don't do that, this is a league of parity. This is a league where there's upsets every single week. And if you don't shoot yourself in the foot, you have a chance to beat the best teams in the league, like the Chargers, like the Eagles. And from the jump, after those first couple Saquon Barkley runs, the Giants played desperate. The Eagles didn't. And I hate to say one team played harder than the other because that's a simple mindset. But the Giants played like a desperate team. A team that did not want to fall to 1-5, that did not want to have that long layoff until next week. And it starts from the young guys. It starts with Jaxson Dart. I mean, I think when he, I think as observers, you want to see him take some less hits. I mean, he had another, concussion scare today, but when he throws his body around, when he put his foot in the ground and had Zach Bond, going that way and he went that way and he scored, that's infectious. So when he's doing his celebration, he's got that moxie. It's infectious. When Scatabo is it seems like every run he has, there's a big hit, and it's usually him hitting the other guy. That's infectious. When guys are throwing their body on the line like that, it's infectious. And then you have your star players like a Brian Burns, 2 more sacks today. That is infectious for the rest of the defense. I mean, he's tremendous. I mean, 7 sacks in 6 games this year. That's infectious. And then we see the secondary. Adebo held his own against A.J. Brown. Cordell Flott, who I think fans and certainly reporters have said, why isn't he playing more? He's been better than Banks. He should just be the second cornerback. He showed why today. He was good on Devonta Smith. Then obviously the big interception at the end. Saquon Barkley had those 3 big runs. I think I have the stat. He had 31 yards on his first 3 runs, 27 on his next 9. So the Giants' run defense has been questionable. They hunkered down today and didn't let Saquon take over a game as much as he does so often. And the play calling was good. I thought the play calling from Mike Kafka was good. It was inventive with Dart. It was using his feet when he can. It was getting him easy throws to Theo Johnson and Wan'Dale Robinson. I remember last week we talked about where's Wan'Dale Robinson gone. He had such a big game against the Cowboys and kind of disappeared the next 2 weeks. Finally, he reemerges and has big makes a guy miss on his touchdown catch and little catch and run. His end of game stats won't be crazy, but Jalen Hyatt, we've been talking about him. He had some key catches. There were little outs, 5 yards here, 7 yards here, but they were key. Little Jordan Humphrey, he made some catches.
Yeah,
I mean, he's bigger than I thought. Like I haven't really seen him on the field too much. He's a big guy. Theo Johnson keeps showing more and more every week. And we got to start with Dart. He doesn't look phased. We'll see, when you rely so much on rookies like Dart and Scatabo, we'll see the mistakes like they made last week, right? Like some games we'll see those rookie mistakes, but he's not phased. He likes the limelight. Guys gravitate around him. He's certainly not afraid to put his body on the line. And he's beyond just his running and his moxie. He's making good throws. There was one throw, like 2 plays before he got hurt. It was a 3rd and 8 because they had committed a false start. 3rd and 8. He stayed in the pocket, a lot of pressure off his back foot, and he completed a nice pass to Theo Johnson for a first down. And I saw that. That's not something that was scripted. That wasn't an easy pass for him. That was sit in the face of pressure, throw off your back foot, and find your tight end. And this was his best game as in his 3 games that he started. And he keeps showing more and more, and you can tell Brian Dable on the sideline. It's almost like a romance between them. I mean,
Shoot, I would be too, especially when
Yeah.
you're in the hot seat and this is the guy that can take a bucket of ice cold water and kind of douse down that seat for a little bit. But just to go back to Jaxson Dart, I remember Brian Burns was speaking in the locker room the other day, and they were asking him questions about why did the team kind of go and rally around Jaxson after one of the fumbles or the interceptions, the Saints games? And I think Brian said something along the lines of like, we want to make sure we uplift this kid because we play off of his energy. We want to make sure to be there for him not only when he's doing well or playing well, but also when he's down as well. We want our brother to know that we got him. That stuff is it is infectious to see that for years and years, whether the defense gets a stop, defense held a team to 13, 17 points. There was still no confidence in the quarterback position to be able to put up 34 points against an Eagles. I forget how much they scored against the Chargers. That's a lot of freaking points that they are putting up against these teams. We are not used to that, which is why everyone gravitated towards, Russell Wilson for galvanizing the team. And I still give him credit for being able to put the pieces in order for Jaxson Dart. So it wasn't just a rookie trying to figure it all out, from day one. But that moxie that this kid has, and I'm around Prince Amukamara today. I'm around Lawrence Taylor, Leonard Marshall, Jonathan Casillas, Ahmad Bradshaw. All those dudes were sitting there when we were all together when he got hurt, and they're all like, we all stopped talking.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows, and everyone that's played the game, whether you have played the game, you play fantasy, everyone looks and understands how important the quarterback position is. You had a guy, you gave little Jordan Humphrey the opportunities to go up and make contested 50-50 catches. That's his skill set. So not only is it a quarterback that gives you more with the legs, and Mike Kafka caught a pretty conservative game. It was read one, read two, get out of there if you got to get out of there, or buy some time in improv. Those guys knew I may not get this. This is a game you're going into. I may not get 9, 10 catches, 9, 10 targets. But when it comes my way, it's coming my way for a reason. And I got to make a play for this kid. And he was able to do that. Again, but like you said, he's got to get down, bro.
Yeah.
You got to get down.
No, he's got to
the other day about, I
spots.
ran the ball a lot in college. I'm used to my body being sore. This is a different beast, bro. Like, I understand the SEC is the NFL junior, but this ain't the JV NFL. This is varsity with big boys and big boy pads. And you see how much he means to this team because Brian Dable was screaming at the training staff to get him out of the tent. Like he's some boy
He went into the tent.
He
went into the tent at one point to check on Dart.
Yeah, like that's I guarantee he's going to get a letter from the NFL for that. But if you look at the 21-18 versus Chargers, lost 26-14. Now you put up 34. You win 34-17 against the Eagles. You look ahead at Denver, at Philly versus San Francisco, at Chicago. You're now you're rethinking these games as instead of just looking at like, oh, well, Denver's got a tough team, a tough defense. Jaxson Dart gives you a chance. Oh, well, they got to go to Philly. He just beat them. Oh, well, Robert Saleh and San Francisco's defense is coming in MetLife November 2nd. Jaxson Dart gives you a chance. You're rethinking this entire remaining of the schedule. But here's a question for you, Jared, because I was having this conversation earlier. Now that he gives you hope, and you look at, he should be 3-0 right now. Do you now go and use some assets to go get him more weapons on the perimeter?
Well,
how do you identify? What's the message that the GM in the front office is going to send to this team and this quarterback about what they want to do for the 2025 season now that they've seen that they've got a kid that can go out there and spin it?
before that, I thought you said it perfectly, that you're rethinking the schedule. Like I'm not gonna lie. Before this game, I was talking to my dad, Paul Schwartz, our beat writer, and I said they're 1-4 and like they're basically 1-7 because you're gonna lose to the Eagles tonight. At Denver is a tough. Like, are they really gonna go at Denver and win? And then at Eagles again. And I was like, before you know it, they're gonna be 1-7. And it's like, what are we gonna talk about? Games like today make you rethink everything. Dart has breathed a season into what seemed like a lost season, and not just his teammates. Like that, we talk about him being infectious. It's infectious with the fans. I mean, you were there. You're pumping up the fans. There were loud, like "Let's go Giants" chants in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and when Scadabo's putting his head down and running through people, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot, like, the fans are allowed to be loud. Like, I forgot that you're allowed to have a home field advantage. Oh, yeah, I forgot that, like, it doesn't have to be so toxic every single game, every single week.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, like, you're allowed to, Brandon, as the MC there, you're allowed to actually have people answer your calls to get loud and stuff. So he's breathed new life into a season that seemed like lost. Now, do you add people? I just think it's so tough to find players that can actually make an impact and not give much up. I just don't think they're in a position to give up more capital because, they gave up capital to trade up for Jaxson Dart. I don't know. I mean, it'd be nice, they played well today, but Lil Jordan Humphrey, Jalen Hyatt, and Wan'Dale Robinson is not a great trio. It's not going to scare a lot of people. Now they should get Darius, with the long week, they should get Darius Slayton back, which should help. He had a bad week last week, but he is a quality player who should help. But, look, if there's the right piece there, sure. But I just is there an impact player you can get for a 6th round pick? Like, I just don't really think like there's guys out there like Jacoby Myers on the Raiders. People always kind of talk about, but he's not going to go for a 6th round pick. And then do you want to give up like a 3rd or 4th round pick? I don't think so. Now, maybe one thing that you do is you don't sell. You know what I mean? Like, you don't sell off soon to be free agents, or you don't sell off those veterans that maybe if you're 1-7, you say, okay, let's call it and just recoup assets. But last week everybody wanted them to sign Odell Beckham. Now he's suspended for 6 games, and so that ship obviously sailed. But sign Allen Robinson out of free agency. He tweets a lot right now. Like I'm sure he's staying ready, but like you usually don't just like give up very little and get someone who can impact, or get someone off the street and get someone who can make an impact. Isaiah Hodgins is out there on the 49ers
Steelers practice squad.
The Steelers practice squad. Now he obviously knows the system. We saw him 2 years ago in 2022 or 3 years ago, made an impact and was useful. That's I think people floated that when Malik Neighbors got hurt and they didn't do it, and maybe you could make a case for that. I just think it's hard to get an impact player to not give up anything. It's not Madden. You can't accept a trade. And I still, there's still two. They're 2-1 in the Dart era. But they're two. That doesn't mean there's not still 2-4. And I just think they're not in a position to give up assets. I get what you're saying. It's this quarterback has changed the tenor around the team. 2-1 in his games and kicking yourself for not being 3-0 against a bad team. You're up 14-3. It's just you don't want to get carried away and give up assets for someone who's not going to help. And
here's the reason why I would, if they did, or I wouldn't be mad if they did. Malik Neighbors is going to be out for the year. You're going to have to draft a receiver in next year's draft regardless. And you're going to have to do it in the 2nd or 3rd round more than likely. And I think depending on what the schedule is like, how high they draft, or where they draft at, I think they may take a receiver, a playmaker, an explosive weapon in the 1st round. So if there's a receiver that you can give up a 2nd or a 3rd for this year to come in because you believe that, hey, again, we're a quarterback away. That's what he said. And you believe that we may have the guy that could win some games for us, then you go give up next year's 2nd or 3rd for a veteran receiver who now he's not going to have to start from day 1 next year and go through the rookie roller coaster that young receivers have to go through. You have a proven guy.
You do know you need a better number 2 opposite Malik Neighbors. For the first couple of weeks, we knew that was a hole. So I do get that. If you can find that number 2 now, and it's gonna, if you're gonna draft one in the 3rd round, but you can get it now, why not? I get that. That does make sense. One thing that I want to mention, since Andrew Thomas has come back, this offensive line has held its own. It really has. Like even after JMS went out, I mean Austin Schlottman. Like I don't think most people really knew his name, or knew he was on. It's I thought they put Van Roden at center and put Stinney at right guard, but it's in comes Austin Schlottman. It's oh yeah, he's that guy in the depth chart that's just kind of there. But I think he had one false start, but other than that, you didn't really hear his name, which is always a good thing for an offensive lineman. Andrew Thomas, it's you look at all the metrics and stuff. It's you just put him out there and you don't worry about it. He's just at left tackle. And you see Azeez Ojulari, he just gets pancaked. You see these Eagles linebackers, they don't do anything. He's just out there, never needs a double team, never needs help. He's out there on an island and he just does his thing. It's amazing. Runyon looks better when Thomas is next to him instead of James Hudson or Bo played well, but Andrew Thomas is different. The whole line. We said this the last 2 years that so much of the team fell apart when Thomas got hurt the last 2 years. And we really see his impact now. He's 26 years old. He's a former All-Pro. Man, he's a building block that whatever happens this season, he's still I think before the year when he was, missing week 1, missing week 2, fans kind of not soured on him, but were man, I'm tired of him being hurt. Is he really the future? But you put him out there and the whole line is better. Yeah. He's better,
You think about it, he is the MVP on this team.
Yeah.
He is the most valuable player on this football team because every year we've seen him go down. The offensive line just absolutely falls apart. So Andrew Thomas, I'm glad they waited to get him back and not rush him back to where, and then they put him on a pitch count in that first game. And now it's he's such a quiet, mellow dude. You don't even know he's out there, you said. Let's get to some of these comments, man. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. And then I want to make sure we give the DBs and the defense some flowers as well.
Yes.
We're keeping the Darty party going. But
one thing quickly, I guess, about the defense. We mentioned about the offense putting up a lot of points. They were 11 of 16 on 3rd downs, and I think they were 9 of 10 or 10 of 11 at one point. The defense held the Eagles to 1 for 9 on 3rd down. That's pretty tremendous. The Eagles, and especially an Eagles team that when it gets to short yardage, they just do the tush push, and it's they're one of the hardest teams to get off of get off the field on 3rd down. So to hold them to 1 and 9 on 3rd down is pretty tremendous. And after those 4 straight tush pushes, I believe it was 21-0. So they kind of got bullied by those 4 tush pushes, and then they won 21-0, and the defense really held its own. So yes, tremendous props to Flott and Brian Burns. I thought Hollins played pretty well. Adebo mostly held his own against AJ Brown. Okereke was flying around, stopping the run. Muasau was in the backfield a few times.
Dane Belton caused the fumble.
Belton causing the fumble. And Dexter Lawrence still hasn't really gotten going coming back from his injury. But regardless, they have to double team him. I watch him. They got to double team him every play, and maybe he's not doing damage, but just taking up those space and taking up a double team, it frees up the Brian Burnses and the other guys. So yeah, it was definitely a very good step forward for Shane Bowen and his unit.
All right, let's get to some of these comments. First one, hater alert, Sergio. What with you? Oh my God, stop doing this to me. I cannot take this from you guys. Hey Sergio, thanks for watching, buddy. Eves, if Dart started the season, we could be talking about the Giants being 3-1. Could be, but then you could also be looking at it all right, he would have made some rookie mistakes earlier in the season as well. But yeah, this kid, I feel as though they should have won that Saints game, and maybe if he played that Cowboys game, I mean, they had the Cowboys game won, so they are what their record says they are. But there is hope that the Giants can go on a run and continue to win some games. Jay Martinez, MC, go Big Blue. It's MC. Go Big Blue. Thank you. And I didn't even really have to do much in terms of getting hype. The on the field product was doing it itself. And I'm not trying to talk myself out of a job or anything. For those you don't know, I'm the in-game MC with the Giants and all. But when the product is there, Jared, it's a fan base that they are starved to go crazy. When it's towards the end of the game and they show the shot of all these Eagle fans leaving, and you heard the Eagles.
Yeah.
It was, oh my gosh, it was like a symphony. It was music to everyone's ears because we're used to hearing Eagles on the Giants' home turf. So you just like these wins, it may count as one, but these are like 2-3 wins for the fan base because they deserve this happiness.
And don't discount what that can do for a team. Coming out, actually hearing your fans behind you in prime time. They know they're in prime time. They're on
Prime time.
Everybody is watching them. They're not just buried in 1 o'clock. Everybody's watching them. Their fans are getting after them. In a good way. So often, so many guys on this team have either played in toxic atmospheres or just empty atmospheres. By the end of the year where it's apathy and nobody's there, or the other team's fans are there. Just that feeling of, wow, like we play well, our fans are actually behind us. Wow, like we give them something to cheer about. They're one of the best fan bases in this league still. That is like, it's not tangible. You can't like measure that, but it's something that they're not used to. And it's something that really has an effect, especially on a team that has a lot of young guys and a lot of young guys in key positions, like Dart, like Scatabo, like Nubin, like Carter. It's a lot of young guys in key positions, and it's not good to start your career getting booed all the time. Sometimes it's good to start your career and get cheered once in a while.
Yeah, because you're like, this is what the NFL's like. Yeah. And you think some of these guys are coming from the LSUs and some of these bigger programs to where one loss, you're out of it, let alone 13 in a season, So I see, like, I remember Odell said that back in the day. He's like, bro, I'm from LSU where, one loss, you're not going to the national championship. Yeah. Now you're getting like 5, 6, 7 in a row. And you're supposed to just walk around like everything's okay. You mentioned Tyler Nubin's name, Eves. I'm sorry if I'm messing up your name, bro. I got one of my bros is Eve. He calls it Eves. Nubin needs to play better, and Adebo needs to prove why he's worth the contract we gave him. Yeah, again, he had a solid day today. Guys are catching passes on him, but AJ Brown made a hell of a catch. AJ Brown's Madden rating is 90+ for a reason. Great one-handed catch, and then I think Adebo did a great job getting the no call on that PI because that could have been huge. That could have been absolutely huge. So, Adebo would love for him to get his hands on the ball, get an interception pretty soon. But he's been pretty decent so far. But again, I'm with Eves for what the Giants paid him. Obviously, you want more production, but let's go back to Cordell Flott and give flowers to Brian Burns as well, because Cordell Flott, I thought, had a pretty solid game against the Cowboys, held his own against George Pickens, 3 targets, 2 catches for, I believe, like 27 yards, pass breakup, almost got his hands on the interceptions. And I was talking to him about that game because I did a Blue Rush film breakdown, and he kept just talking about football IQ. My IQ is there. My IQ is there. They were in this. This is something we talked about all throughout the week. I saw it. I identified it. I made a play on the football. I'm standing right there at that interception because Giants have their back against that end zone is where I usually stand. I'm sitting there and I'm pointing. Eagles had, I believe, like trips to the right, and it was one-on-one to that side. And the Giants, Shane Bowen called a heck of a game today. My only pet peeve with Shane is they don't press enough sometimes. Yeah. I believe you should be getting up in these guys' faces because you have the pass rush that you have. Devontae Smith ran like the out route, stop route. He jumped it before the ball was in the air. And usually you're thinking like, why are you taking that gamble, especially against a team that runs a lot of sluggos? All they run is slants and slant and goes. That's all they run on that outside. Absolutely jumped it. But the biggest, he caught the football. Like the Giants, like that's when you know things are going the Giants' way and they're playing good football. Is again, what we say, we identify no turnovers, not turning the ball over, not shooting yourself in the foot with penalties. And on the defensive side of it, look at the Chiefs game. How many times did they get their hands on the football, but not come away with the turnover and turn the football over? They
It's the
did
little
it
things.
today. It's a game of inches, the game of the smallest details. And when this team puts it all together and details their work, now with a young quarterback, you're looking at them like, still not. We're not so. Still not. I'm not buying. I'm not buying it from this used car salesman just yet. Still want to look under the hood a little bit. Like, what's that transmission like? But dang, the wheels are shiny, Jared. Like that's that's a Mercedes. It could be like one of those older model Mercedes, but it's still a Mercedes.
Still a Mercedes. Yeah.
So you're looking at it like, it's within my budget, but do I buy this car? And they have to be the used car salesman and show that this 2025 Giants team it looks good, can run, and still got some mileage on it.
You mentioned, Flott's IQ. I think that's what's really separating him and Banks right now. That football IQ and that technique, because Banks has talent. Like he was drafted with talent. We saw his talent his rookie year, but it's that technique. It's turning your head around, which he didn't in the Saints game and had the bad PI. That took away an interception. It's the knowledge of knowing what routes are coming or know what routes are probably going to come. Flott might not be as naturally gifted or as naturally talented as Banks, but I think that's where he has the edge right now. Is he has the better technique and he has the better football IQ, I guess. And he's lengthy also, but he's got those long arms. And we saw in the interception today, he reaches out and he's got those long arms. But I think people were kind of clamoring, more Flott, more Flott, more Flott. Like, let's not make this a timeshare. Let's make this Flott's job. And today he really kind of took that job in his hands and grasped it. That's encouraging. And if Adebo only keeps getting better and Holland only keeps getting better, Newman's had his struggles, but he was, okay today. Maybe finally we'll see the second, because there's been a lot invested in the secondary. Maybe we'll finally see it coming together like it did today.
Again, huge win for the Giants. Adam says, how about Dart and Scatterboo? Man, we've been talking about these dudes all day, man. This rookie class kind of reminds me, it resembles at time my 07 rookie class, to where every single one of the drafted guys and even some of the undrafted guys, Craig Dahl, Mike Matthews, stepped in at some point and made plays. 44 Ahmad Bradshaw, 44 Cam Scatterboo. I'll give that to Joe Shane. His last two draft classes, he's hit. He's got some starters for the future. Theo Johnson, 4th round pick. Scatterboo, 4th round pick. Tyrone Tracy Jr., 5th round pick. Marcus Bowe, 5th round pick. You're getting Musa, he's out there starting. But you look at Micah McFadden was a 5th round, 6th round pick. So you're getting value out of guys that are getting drafted in these later rounds. And you're looking at the future looks bright for this team. Malik Neighbors going into his 3rd year next year. You've got a lot of young guys that can change the culture within this franchise.
And I think that's the important thing.
It looks fun.
That's the important thing. Change the culture. Like, beyond being good players, this has been a culture of losing for so many years. Dart and Scatterboo particularly, what a pairing they are. To pair them together, they're culture changers. Dart has the moxie. He's a leader. He's got the swag. He's a good speaker. He looks good. He's got the energy. And then Scatterboo is like this Tasmanian devil. Like he's
shocking 2.0.
He's the guy that guys everybody likes to be around him, and he's entertaining, and he's in a good way. He's a nut job. Like, every hit, it's almost like he doesn't like it when he doesn't get hit. Like he looks for contact, even when he doesn't have to. And and he bulldozes guys over. Like the Eagles have the tush push. The Giants just needed Scatterbo to run hard. like the Eagles had all 11 guys push Jalen Hurts. The Giants said, okay, here you go, Scatterbo. Just run really hard and with and crazy. And that's infectious, and that is a culture changer. And he is a guy that guys gravitate to and like, and he plays hard, so other guys will play hard. He brings the energy, so other guys want to bring the energy themselves. And like you said, not just beyond just being good players, these are culture changes, and that to me is like the most promising and optimistic part of wins. Like today is being routing the Eagles is plenty good itself, but having guys that can clearly change a culture and become leaders of a team in just as rookies 6 games into the year, and for Dart less than that, that's really promising.
Yeah. 34-17 win for the Giants going into the mini bye. Huge win, primetime game, trying to change the narrative about this team. Jaxson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, offense looked good, defense looked good as well. Giants playing the football that you guys want them to play. We're going to wrap this thing up now. It's 12 o'clock. Got to get home. Maybe the Ubers have died down at the stadium now. May go hang out in the parking lot for a little bit, but we got to be up early. Thank you guys for hanging out and rocking with us for your Blue Rush